this specific session, I love the session. I don't want to go to the presentation. I will use only the product. Deep dive demo is all about, we'll show you how to use Zoho Analytics from end to end within this 45 minutes, right? That's the deep dive demo. Okay. So some of those content is going to be similar because that's workshop is like a full day training, right? And hands-on. But this is like a sneak peek version of it. But still it's going to be like a deep in terms of touching base all possible capabilities or at least essential capabilities across the platform, right? So on that front, um, if you have a look at the stages in the BI journey, it's pretty much straightforward. You import the data, and you prepare the data. That's the thing that you see to the left, right? That's the first stage of a BI journey, connecting, consolidating the data. Second, you get into the process of analyzing the data by building the reports and dashboards. Once you do it, the third stage is all about collaboration, sharing and collaboration, how you can share these visualizations with other users with some fine grained access controls, right? That's the simple one line story of how you can use BI. Let's see how to do this. So from here, I'm just going to get into this product, right? So if you're new to Zoho Analytics, you will be landing in this page where you don't see any workspaces. So everything starts from connecting data, right? So that's the data source. So as you see here at the top, you have the choice to import your data. So you need to connect, import, and bring the data into the system for analysis purpose, right? So typically we get few questions. Should I import the data or can I just go ahead and connect the source and do it directly? The best model is to bring the data because when I say importing the data, the reason is only then you can do fine grain analysis, slice and dice activities on it, right? So typically for all the data sources, you connect and you import, like taking a copy of it and bringing it inside the system. But in certain cases, you also have something called real-time data sync, which I'll talk about it. For now, let's say connecting data sources, everything starts from files and feeds, right? So nobody can stop using Excel files or some other CSV files and so on. So you always have the option to go ahead and pick some file from your local drive and simply just go ahead and select choose file and choose the file and choose that and file and import the data seamlessly, right? But more importantly, so here I'm just going to select a sample. But more importantly, if you have a look at that, when it comes to the file format, right? So most used are CSV and Excel. But if you're kind of like in the enterprise space where you want to, where you get data from various other sources as well, typically we see customers importing JSON file, XML file, or even very special case, something called spatial files, like for custom geo mapping boundaries and analysis. All right. So you have a choice of selecting different file formats and import the data. In terms of limit, at the right hand side, you can see here, you can import a file size which is up to 100 MB or more than, like less than 1 million records. If you go beyond that, then you need to use something called Zoho Data Bridge, which I will talk about that a bit more later. So you choose the file and you go to the next stage. And this is important stage if you're new to analytics altogether. It gives you a very quick preview of how your data looks like. By default, Zoho Analytics will pick the right data type. What is data type? It's just to explain you what kind of data it is, right? So if you have a date, it automatically pick the date. How this works, based on first 100 records, it automatically identifies the data type and gives you the preview. But if it is incorrect, you prefer to change it, just click on the drop down and change the data type during the import process. But it's very important to choose the right data type. Why? If you have a date data type and if you have a plain text instead of date, then you cannot perform the chronological analysis like Jan, Feb, March. Your first month will be April. So you need to go ahead and choose the right data type. So choosing the right data type is the first option. Over and above, you can contextually click on prepare data This button will take you to the Zoho data prep. And I'm sure if you have attended the session just before this, it's it's all about like how to use the data preparation for preparing process, right? The preparation process. So once you hit create, this will give you a quick summary. And then I just created a new workspace here. So this is how your raw data will be stored in the Zoho Analytics. So what is raw data? It's the transactional data coming from your source. A copy of the transactional data is coming from your source application, is what we call it as the raw data. Now, if you have a look at the structure of this data, it is very simple. You will see only the column headings. You don't see any categorizations in the row level. It's always only the column level data. And you have this records, each and every transaction coming here as a record. So assuming that you're trying to import data from your Zoho CRM system, right? As most of you use it. So I'm trying to use that as an example. If you're in the deals module, if you access any specific deal, each and every field you have it in the deal module, like let's say it's going to be like the account owner or probably the deal owner, partner account, whatever it is. Each and every column that you have or every field you have will be structured here in form of column headers. This is how the raw data stored behind the scenes, and that will be imported as it is for analytics purpose. All right, simple. Now the concept is going to be same for all data source. So let's say what's next. Apart from connecting the files from my local drive, I also have the choice of importing data from my cloud drives like Google Drive, Work Drive, or goes to an enterprise category like Amazon S3 buckets, Google Cloud Storage, not the Google Drive. The Google Cloud Storage is different, similar to S3 buckets or SharePoint, OneDrive, and so on. You can pick data from all these sources as well. But one of the differences that you see here whenever you're using the files from the cloud storages is you have the choice of scheduling the data import process. For example, if I'm trying to pick a file from my cloud storage and go next and perform all the same things, whatever I have shown you, at the end, it takes you to a screen called schedule this import process. So you can go ahead and schedule it like whether you want to do this every day, every week, every n hours or whatever it is. Most important thing, you can choose what type of import that you want to perform. Do you prefer to keep adding the records at the end? Or would you prefer to go ahead and use something called delete all the records and add the new one whenever it comes? Or if you prefer to replace any existing record, then you need to use this third option along with a matching column. This is very important concept. Why? It's going to continue in all the layers till report creation. Whenever you have data, the good practice is to have a unique ID of each and every record. For example, if you take a deal, you have a deal ID to identify, because at any point your names or something can be overlapped. Of course, you can talk about the phone numbers and email address and so on, but that's not the effective model for analytics purpose. You need unique IDs. If you're trying to collect any data for any system, for any activities, include the unique ID as a part of it, because that's going to be helpful for a lot of activities for you, right? So this unique ID will help you to check and update the data automatically. So in this case, even I can go with the email, but it's a choice. Still better to generate a unique ID here. So I can schedule this process automatically, which will send the data, synchronize the data from my cloud storage at that scheduled time. So coming back to the home screen, connecting files, feeds, connecting the cloud storages. Now let's get into the business applications. There are a lot of business applications out here. When it comes to the Zoho ecosystem, we connect right from CRM, Finance Suite, Help Desk Suite, and so on. We're going to keep expanding this with more and more applications within the Zoho ecosystem. Similarly, you can also bring data from third-party data sources. For example, the business applications. For example, you might be using HubSpot CRM, or you might be using HubSpot marketing automation, or Facebook, Instagram, Google Ads, or HR applications, IT help desk, Zendesk, or something. You have the choice of bringing in data from all different third-party business applications as well. The process of data import is going to be same, with one slight difference. I will explain that. So in case you're trying to connect Zoho CRM to Zoho Analytics, or let's say, just want to ensure that it's not already configured before. So yeah, let's go ahead. So let's say I'm trying to import data from Zoho CRM. Once I select the Zoho CRM, it gives me the option of selecting something called modules and fields. So each and every module I was talking about, like leads, deals, contact, accounts, and so on, you can simply go ahead and select the required modules. You can also see the sub-modules associated with that. For example, if you take the leads, you have the lead notes, contact, you have the contact notes. If you need it, you can include it because it's always large volume of data. So if you really want to perform some analysis on your leads notes, you can do that. If you're not using it, better to avoid it, right? So just remove that. You can select the required fields at the top. Let's say you want to include the first name, second name, whatever it is. So whatever you want to include it for analysis purpose, you can select it as a part of the setup process. And at the bottom, you have a choice of scheduling this synchronization. The minimum data synchronization for most of the applications are 1 hour, but it's based on your pricing plan. For Zoho One, we are also enabling 1 hour synchronization. We just did it recently. So you can also synchronize the data. So when you schedule this, this is the frequency your data will be updated from your source to Zoho Analytics automatically. Okay. Only for Zoho CRM, we have recently supported real-time data synchronization, which is not enabled in this account. It's not going to be enabled for any of the accounts by default. But if it is available for you, you can click on this drop-down and choose something called real-time or instant synchronization. I'll tell you how that can be enabled. If you need a real-time synchronization, if you desperately have a use case for that, then you have to buy it as an add-on. I'll tell you why we keep it as an add-on. It's a lot of heavy lifting things that goes behind the scenes to do the real time. It's going to be like the multiple servers, like a caching server, Kafka technology, and all those stuff runs in real time to keep listening your data from CRM and put it into Zoho Analytics, right? So it costs you with an add-on to do that. But as far as I have seen customers, they're fine with 1 hour data synchronization mostly until unless they have a very critical operation, they have a big monitor in their floor for a salesperson to monitor things, you can go for a real time. Also, at the top, you have something called organizations. I know most of you don't do this, but there are customers using multiple organizations, right? So this is the example of Zoho CRM, but be it Zoho Books, let's take, you can have multiple organizations in Zoho Books also. So if you prefer to consolidate the data for the reporting purpose, you want to accumulate the data in one place and perform a comprehensive analysis across multiple entities or multiple organizations, you can go ahead and choose the organization and set up this process multiple times. Now, we also get some frequent questions from customers saying that I'm using multiple Zoho One instance, how I can try to bring everything in one place. As long as you have a common administrator, let's say one of the user in one Zoho CRM or Zoho One instance, you can just add them as an administrator or a user in another Zoho One account and provide administrator privilege. If you provide that, then you can synchronize and consolidate the data. So this is how you select and do the data import process. Once you create it, it'll go ahead and start the data import process. So typically it takes like 10-15 minutes to complete this process and you'll be able to do everything on top of it. Okay. So this is how data import works. Now, the similar concept applicable for third-party data sources. So for example, let's say you want to connect Salesforce or Google Ads or Zendesk or whatever. The only different step or additional step that we'll be doing is authentication. So you'll just go ahead and perform the authentication and then go through the same set of steps on top of it. So once you're done with that, this is created as a workspace, I think. Yeah. So whenever you're trying to bring data from data like business applications like CRMs and Zendesk or anything else, Zoho Analytics build automatic data modeling. Automatic data modeling is nothing but it explains how exactly each and every modules are connected with each other. So this part is already done in Zoho when you're trying to bring data from business apps integration. For all your business apps integration, this part is taken care, right? So how each and every module connected, it comes in as it is. Over and above, it automatically generates the pre-built reports and dashboards on top of each and every business apps integration, which helps you to kickstart your analytics journey easily, right? So the similar process, you do it for rest of the data sources. Last data connectivity option is database import. So in case if any of you are using databases, you can also bring data from databases. But one key things that you have to take a note is for all the cloud hosted services. Let's say if you're using Amazon RDS or Snowflake or Databricks or Redshift or GCP, whatever it is, you don't want to install anything. Just go ahead and choose that connection here and specify the connection details like the endpoint, port number, and everything. You can bring in the data. That's it. But moreover, whenever it comes to the databases, you have another capability called Live Connect. So if you prefer not to import the data, but you prefer to do some kind of like a real-time data analysis on top of your database, you can do that as well. If you choose this, it's not going to import your data. Whenever you open a report, it'll go ahead and query your source, which is your AWS or something, take the required data and show you the report. This is one of the choices. But please note that the best model is to go with the hybrid mode. So wherever you need a real-time data synchronization, you can pick and choose this. Not for all the use cases, because you cannot prepare it, you cannot blend the data, you cannot do anything when you do this live connect with the source, right? Your data should be well prepared and set for analysis purpose. So I'm not going to connect it considering the time, but obviously you can simply do that in very few steps. And also you have a choice of importing data from the databases, which is hosted locally inside your network, right? Be it MySQL, MS SQL, whatever it is. And that's where the agent comes in called data prep. Data prep is like a client utility, which can be downloaded and installed within your local network or database. And it helps you to push the data on a schedule basis to Zoho Analytics Cloud at any given day. Apart from that, you have the APIs as well to bring the data from different data source. So once you connect and bring the data, then you get into the process of data preparation, right? So how you can go ahead and prepare your data. That's what you have seen in the last session called Zoho Data Prep. That's the best way to prepare, transform, enrich, cleanse, and do all the process like pipeline building process and everything inside your Zoho ecosystem. You can also invoke, create a data preparation process and schedule and invoke that action right from here. You can also build data preparation right from here, but I'm not going to go through that because you had a deep dive session just before this, right? But you have few other capabilities inside the platform, which is going to be super helpful for you, which is formula layer. So once you build the required, once you connect and bring in the required data set, your data set will looks like this, like rows and columns as you see here. Now, on top of it, obviously you need to build the metrics in many cases. So let's say I want to perform something like um, sales cycle analysis, like on average, how many days it takes for a salesperson to close a deal, right? And on average, what is the sales cycle for different industries like pharma industry or supply chain industry or something different lead source? You can plan things accordingly. You can assign leads accordingly, right? So it's a very simple use case I'm explaining. It can be super deep, super complex use cases we can talk about, but considering like just 45 minutes, I can touch base one of the use cases, right? So in this case, let's say I'm trying to perform the sales cycle analysis, okay? So to do that, what are all the steps involved? First steps, I need to find how many days you have in between the created time and the closing time of a deal, right? That's the simple thing that I'm trying to do. So have something called created time as a column, which is your deal created time. And also you have a column called closing date, which is the deal closing date. But one of the key point here is, I mean, these data are automatically generated and populated, but as long as you have the required data set from the source, you can do any types of analysis. Let's say you don't have the required data set in the source. If it is not captured, then you cannot perform that analysis. So if you prefer to perform any analysis, that is, if that is your objective, then ensure that you have the data set available in your source. You have to have a field to capture it, right? Because we often get questions that want to perform this analysis, but I don't even capture this data, which we cannot do anything, right? So created time and closing time is available here. So first thing, I want to calculate the difference between both these columns, right? So I want to calculate how many days resides in between. So for that, I'm trying to create a new column or new formula here. So when you click on add at the top, when you click on add at the top, at the bottom, you have something called formula column and aggregate formula. Simple difference. Formula column is nothing but if you prefer to perform any action in a row level, and that's what we call it as a formula column. For example, closing time minus created time, right? But if you prefer to perform any analysis in a column level with some mathematical functions like sum, minimum, maximum, count if, whatever, then that's considered as the aggregate formula. So aggregate formula result will not be shown here because it's a raw data. But formula column, you will see the result as a physical column here because it's a row level transaction. Okay. So not to complex so much, based on your needs, if you want to perform any calculation in a row level, go with the formula column. If you want to perform multiple column level calculation, go with the aggregate formula, simple, right? So in this case, let's say I'm trying to build a formula column, right? So let me go ahead and do it. And I just want to find the days difference. So I just name it as date diff. Now, if you have a simple numeric data type, for example, if I have a data type like, let's say, expected revenue minus actual revenue, it's going to be like a currency data type, right? So it's a math, simple. So I can do it. I can just specify the operator, which is minus or subtraction, and I can take the difference between expected revenue and actual revenue, right? But you cannot do the same for date. You cannot perform a minus on top of a date column, right? It's going to be like a date function. So imagine you want to do the same difference, not based on the date, but based on the duration, like how many hours it's going to be having, or let's say how many seconds you have between two different date and time, right? So you can do n number of calculations on it. So for that, you need to use the right set of functions. So what is function? It helps you to execute a specific formula or a method. For example, if you have a function called add date, it's simply going to add some number of days to a date column, right? So for example, if you just want to add 10 days to all your date values, you can simply put add date and put 10. It's going to add, right? So similarly here, I just want to do the date diff. So I just select date diff. There is a function called date diff. There are hundreds and hundreds of functions out there, so it's impossible for you to memorize everything. But the best method is just search in Google. You can find different methods and just use that function, right? Almost all the functions are supported in Zoho Analytics. So if you're not sure on what is the syntax or how to use it, just hover the mouse pointer, you can see that as well. So in this case, let me click on date diff, which is a function. And I'm not sure on the syntax, so it's automatically suggesting me the syntax here. It's going to be to date, which is the closing date, obviously. So I just typed in closing date. As you can see here, it automatically comes up with the double quote. For all the columns, it always the double quotes. And for all the single value, it will be a single quote. So you don't want to get into that complex layer for now, at least if you're very new to it. Simply go ahead and click on this and start typing it. It start giving you the suggestions then and there. Just go with that. Then you will understand how that works, right? So in this case, created time, comma, closing time. So when I use this function called date diff between created time and closing time, that's it. When I save this, this calculation will go through behind the scenes automatically. And whenever a new column comes in, it automatically go through this calculation and you have your data populated automatically, right? This is one level of example. You can increase the complexity of your formula. Let me edit and show you an existing formula here. So the age in days is what I have created as date diff. I already have this formula inside. So let me go ahead and edit and show you. But in this case, I have more additional functions added. I'm creating the date difference between two columns, but also if my closing date is null, like it's empty, I want to take the current date, right? I can do that. So I can define the if condition and all the stuff on top of it. For example, if I just want to group this age in days. Like, let's say I just want to group it based on 0 to age in days. For example, let's say I just want to, I'm sorry, age in days, age tier. Here it is. So let's say you just want to group this based on, let's say, if my age in days falls between 0 to 60, then call it as 0 to 60. Then it's going to be 100 to 120, whatever it is. Like, you just need to define this custom range based on it. So technically, don't look this into one specific solution. How you can see this is understand the concept of building formulas, right? Try with take two use cases, try to build things on your own, right? You will learn a lot. And you can easily facilitate, use these certain things, and the system will automatically facilitate you by guiding you with suggestions. You also have a lot of AI capabilities to do that, which we have touched based in the morning and so on. I'll quickly sneak peek that as well. But you can leverage AI to do it effectively. But this is the basic concept you should understand to leverage and use it effectively, right? So this is how you build the formula. So once you build this formula, it is available here as a new column called age tier, which clearly categorizes the age of a deal, like 1 to 60, 60 to 120, so and so on. Now you are getting into the second stage. Now the second stage is analyzing the data, creating reports and dashboards. So how you can do it, simply click on create at the top, choose new chart or new types of visualization that you're looking for. Just simply drag and drop the things. I was trying to find the deal owner wise deals that they have, right? So I'm just trying to use this ID, which is a unique identifier for each and every deal. And I have a choice of selecting functions and do it. I'll explain this in detail. And along with that, I'm just trying to take this age tier. So based on that, you can understand each and every salesperson, how many deals that they have in different age tier, right? I'll come to the report building part in detail. But this is how the formula is going to help you. Okay, that's the first stage. Now, the second thing is assuming that I'm trying to take columns from multiple modules. So currently, whatever I'm dealing is it's all done on top of a deals module. But I also prefer to perform something on deal history or leads or anything else. Then I can do that only when you have a join between both the tables, right? If both the tables are interconnected with each other, then I can go ahead and perform any analysis on top of it. So in this case, I think this is incorrect data. Let me change it. Just give me a minute. Okay. So let's assume that I have this column called leads, and this leads is going to be connected with campaigns and deals and all those stuff. Like, okay, it's deal underscore CRM. So you want to build a report on top of it, but you want to pick some information from leads. Then you need to have the join between two tables, and this is done automatically for all your business apps integration. But if you have a custom data source, let's say you have something called target. I want to connect a report and do something like matching between target versus actuals. You can do it, but you need to join those data sets to do that, right? So different join techniques available out there. Let me go ahead and quickly show you an example here with one of the join conditions. So let's say I just want to go ahead and perform the join between two data set, which is the target versus actuals. So just give me a minute. Okay, here it is. Okay, so let's say I have a column called target. Sorry, data set called target. This is something that I'm taking from my local drive. So it can be more granular. It can be based on your month-wise, day-wise, or something. You can take that as well. But this is like generic target for now. Okay. So assuming that you have the deal owner or the target. Okay. And you have obviously the deals, which is coming from your, sorry, not the deal history, the deal coming from your Zoho CRM, right? Now, what you want to do, you want to build the report by joining these together so that you can find the actual versus, target, right? Let me check whether the model exists. Yeah, let me remove that. So assuming that, okay, we have a dependent report. Sorry, just give me a minute. Get this is actual. Let's remove this. Delete. Okay. So assuming that I'm trying to remove this target here, I'm just going to disable this join and I'll just explain how exactly the join works. So in this case, sorry, so we removed from the trash as well. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's go back. Yeah. So I'm trying to join this to between two different data set, right? So whenever it comes to joining the data set, okay, getting the same error again. Oh, you have more reports dependency. Okay, that's fine. How exactly you join the data set? You go ahead and pick the common data between both the data. So for example, you have this target, you have the deal owner, and also you have the deal owner in the deals table, right? So you have something matching in between. It's always recommended to go with the ID column, but I'm just simplifying this for your example. So in this case, I have a list of deal ID or deal values, and I have a list of target here. So if I join these together, then I can perform the analysis. But when it comes to the join, there are different criterias and conditions to perform the join between two data sets. Different types of joins involved in that. Let me go through that one by one. So in this case, let's say I'm trying to establish this join between two columns. If you get into this interface, this is already joined. But more importantly, if you have a look at this, there is something called cardinality. This is what I just need to explain in detail. Cardinality is nothing but the type of joints or type of relationship between the data. Okay. So if you have two different data set which has unique values, for example, you have the list of employee IDs with their name and list of employee IDs with their department. No duplicate in employee ID. You can simply join using the first option called one-to-one, or technically in SQL, they call it as inner join, right? Now, assuming this is the second use case where you have deal owners or deal values from CRM, and also you have the target deal owner. So if you have a look at the target column, the deal owner is going to be like non-duplicate, like it's a unique value. You have a list of names, that's it. But when you go into the deal owner in CRM, it's going to be like every transaction. So the values are duplicated, right? So in that case, you're trying to establish the join between this deals module to the target module. And when you do this, you have to choose the cardinality called many to one. Simple. At the left table, you have many values. At the right table, you have only one value. So joining from many to one. If you want to do this in the reverse, like you have the right side table has many values, but the left side table has only one value, it's going to be one to many. That's it, right? So just choose it accordingly. The fourth option, many to many, not the good choice in most of the cases because they call it as outer join. It's both the tables or non-unique values. The problem is you need some staging table in between to support that. If you directly join both the tables, you'll have like massive volume of data generated as output and your result of analysis will be incorrect, right? So there are some techniques to do that, which we cannot cover that unfortunately in detail because that will take like another 20-30 minutes. But the best practice is do not go for this many to many join in most of the cases as much as you can. If you have use cases, you can also drop an email to support@zohoanalytics.com and discuss that further and take it further from there. Okay. So this is how join works. When you keep joining data set from multiple data set, multiple columns, you can build a very comprehensive data model like this, and that can be used for analysis across end-to-end things, right? Let's get into the visualization layer. So once your data is prepared, the reason I'm spending a lot of time in these two stages, this is where you spend 80% of your time. If you have this thing set, the report creation is like the second job. That's it, right? So, I mean, it's a survey done across multiple organizations for data analysts, data engineers, scientists, and so on. So you spend 70% of your time in the first two stages. Rest of the things are easy if you all sit with this. Okay. So let's get into the visualization layer. How you build the visualization? Again, I'm going to the concept. I'm trying to touch base the concept of it rather than a particular solution, because that's easy for you to replicate to any given solution, right? So what is the concept? Whenever it comes to the report creation part, the simple logic is it's always a combination of multiple things, like, right? So it's not just a single thing all the time. For example, if you're trying to build a dashboard, something uh, like this, let's say you have an executive dashboard or something. So you have different types of reports available here, right? So various types of analysis available here. You can make it more fancy, the color that you want, the look and feel, the visualization. I'll tell you the logic behind the scenes of how to build these things, right? If you have a look at this particular report, it's this is also a report, right? It's a single number widget, single number KPI. This is kind of like a vital KPI for any given business to understand how the business is performing, right? So you call this as a widget in Zoho Analytics inside the dashboard. So to build this, you don't need multiple columns. You just need a single column which has your sales. That's it. But the immediate second factor comes into the game, which is nothing but the date column. So if you want to filter it based on 2024 or 2025 or something, then you're involving a date column. So you take a number column and you perform this sum or minimum or maximum or any statistical things on top of it to get the value, and you want to filter it or you want to group it or you want to do something, then you take a supporting column for that. Now this can be expanded as the way you want. It can be one, and we broadly categorize this in this way. So if you take any data set, you have various data types. Anything that can be used for mathematical aggregate calculations like currency, decimal number, positive number, whatever, we call that column type as aggregate column, right? Or numerical column. That's it. Keep it simple. Anything that has text, email address, location details, phone number, whatever, we call it as dimensions or group by columns, simple terms. It always helps you to group the data and filter the data, right? Or you just take a count of it. You cannot perform sum of names, right? So simple. So you go with this combination always. Whenever you're trying to build a report, choose the required report, be it a widget, be it a chart. Just simply choose it, drag and drop it, and simply build it. For example, let's say I just want to create this report like monthly sales trend. Simply drag and drop the closing date. Since you have the date data type, when you drag and drop this, you have a choice of choosing different granularity, right? Be it the month-wise, quarter-wise, day-wise, week-wise, whatever you want. Let me do it as month-wise. And I drag and drop the amount here and generate. That's it. The monthly sales trend comes in. Now, this can be expanded further. You can change the type of visualization that you're looking for. Simply click on the toolbar at the top. Go ahead and change the types of visualization that you need. That's it, right? Now, let's come back to this line chart. Why we are going with the line chart? The concept is simple. Whenever you have a trend analysis and you have the data connected over a period of time, you go with line. Whenever you have a volume-based analysis for comparison, you go with the bar chart. Whenever you want to perform a distribution analysis, you want to go with the pie chart. So that's the basic logic. But according to me, whatever the visualization comfortable for you, choose it. That helps you to understand your business. That's it. So go ahead and choose this. This is the line chart, right? Now, I just want to increase the complexity of it, right? I just want to see this based on probably the lead source, like how exactly the sales are performing. So I simply drag and drop it. Now I make it more complex, right? Based on the lead source, how the trend is going on. Now, obviously, I can go ahead and I can go ahead and make further modifications. For example, I can change the type of visualization as stack bar chart or something to understand how it's performing, right? Now, moreover, if you have a look at this particular visualization, when I click on this drop down on any column, you have various functions. So as I said, when I click on date, you have the date granularity. You can combine these things. Similarly, when you go ahead and click on the amount, when you click on this drop down, you have different functions because it's a numeric column. You can do sum, minimum, maximum, and all those stuff. But let's say I want to perform the growth percentage analysis. Let's say how this web research lead performed compared to October 2023 to November 2023. What is the growth rate and all those stuff, right? So I'm taking this amount. I can put it in various places, but here I'm trying to put it here in form of a tooltip. Tooltip is like nothing but when you hover the mouse pointer, you get a box and give you the set of information. That's what we call it as a tooltip. Now, in that, I prefer to see the percentage of growth also. So what I do, I go to this drop down, I choose the sum, but instead of just sticking with the sum normal, I have a lot of other functions available as well, right? I also have like running total, percentage of difference from moving average. If you remember the COVID period, we were tracking this like how the trend was changing in the last 7 days, right? So moving average and all those stuff. So let's say I'm going to choose the percentage of difference from the previous value. It's based on the date and time. So I click on apply, generate it. So now when I place the mouse pointer, you see that the total value of the web research in specific was declined slightly, as you see here, like I think it's 1.57, it's 1.53 or something. So it's declined by 2% in that particular month, right? So you can perform all those advanced analytics just by using these combinations without writing any codes, right? So you can take this to next level. You can build pivot view. You can, for example, let's say the same visualization instead of a chart, I prefer to build a pivot view, or similar visualization, I just want to build a pivot view, I can do that. So when you can choose between a pivot and a chart, simple. Chart always allows you to do up to like very few columns. Let's say you have a date, you have one number, one numeric or two numeric, or you have like one date, one numeric, and one text. That's all. Chart is limited, right? Other informations are like you can have tooltip to explain, text to explain, and so on. Pivot is always like more granular, multi-dimension expandable, and very big. So you can keep expanding your pivot as the way you want. For example, let's say I just want to see the deal owner performance. I drag and drop the deal owner, and I just want to see how many deals that they deal with. So I drag and drop the ID and choose it as a count. This gives me the deal owner wise how many deals that they deal with, right? Over and above, let's say I just want to go ahead and say what is the average sales value. So I drag and drop the amount and choose the average. It gives me the average sales value. And now I prefer to just segregate this based on the lead source. So I drag and drop it in the column shelf. This goes to the column wise lead source. And again, I just want to split this based on more other details, such as probably the industry or something, or stage or something. I drag and drop it, and that goes. So as you see here, it's a multi-dimension expandable. It can keep going on further and further, right? So when you prefer to see more data with more granular information, you will go with the pivot view in form of a tabular thing. And you can also do a lot more customizations here. Obviously, the look and feel, the color, the theme, and everything can be changed as the way you want. You can build P&L reports, balance sheet report, and all those stuff similar to what you do it in the financial things. And also, you have a choice of like, let's say, um, expand and close. Let's say you just want to make it as a compact view to see only the subtotals. You can do that. So in this way, you will be able to see only the if you collapse this, you will see only the subtotals. You can just expand and see the things on request in specific. You can change, you can simply right click on it and go ahead and specify the conditional formatting on top of it. For example, if the count is below, so it's going to be like, let's say the count is um, less than 30. I just want to highlight it. So let's highlight it in form of a red color and so on, so on. So I just want to use some highlighting features or something, then it's going to highlight these things accordingly, right? So you can do a lot more customizations, right? So you can even bring an image on top of it and everything. So conditional formatting, let's say I just want icon based customization, right? So if the value is, let's say, going below on a certain percentage, I just want to have a sad emoji on top of it. I can do that as well. So it can replace those values accordingly, right? So you can do a lot more stuff. So you can simply interact with it and make changes out of it, right? Now coming to the filters. So whenever you build this for chart or any types of visualizations, you have the option to filter your data. So when you drag and drop it, you can go ahead and say, I just want to see these things only for the closed one, closed lost to one, only for these deals, not for all deals. I can do that. I can include or exclude any values here, or I can also add something called wildcard filter, which can dynamically search for that value and filter things accordingly. Or if I just drag and drop a date column, I have a choice of doing it like date-wise filter, relative date filter, something like I just want to filter and see only the last 6 months all the time. I can do that on top of it. So all these things can be more dynamic. One more thing that you can do is something called user filter, which is nothing but providing an option to the end user to filter the data. So when end user access that, the end user can simply drag and drop, choose these things and filter their data accordingly, right? And all these data set, whatever I'm showing here, are interactive. So let's say you just have a look at this report. You go to the view mode. By the way, this is the edit mode and view mode. If you save this, it'll be available like this. So I just go ahead and choose this. Now this is the saved one. I can come and access it at any point of time from the reports. I click on this. I can view the underlying data behind the scenes, or I can go ahead and click on this, drill down this further. Let's say I just want to drill down based on a week wise instead of a month wise. And from here, I just want to drill down dynamically based on the deal owner. I can drill down it. So I can go dynamically as the way you want. So it is not necessary that this is also one of the commonly seen mistake in the product. I see customers recreating similar kind of reports for the same purpose. It is not necessary, right? So you build one report and you can use it interactively in a lot more different ways to do that. So dynamic drill down is one of the very powerful feature. You click on it. So right from this report, I take this to the lead owner wise analysis. I can do that. And from here, I can just go ahead and click on stage-wise analysis, or probably the age tier or amount tier analysis. I can do that. So all those dynamic analysis can be performed right on top of it. So once you do it, everything can be put together in form of a dashboard. Dashboard is nothing but like multiple reports on the same page. So whatever the report that you build, you simply drag and drop it and put it next to each other or anything. It's going to be like a completely flexible layout as the way you want. So you can arrange it as the way you want, like a canvas. It can arrange it as the way you want and build things accordingly, right? So you can put all these things at the top. You have something called widgets. You can add widgets on top of the dashboard. That's the single number report I was referring to. So let's say I just want to add this total sales widget. I just go ahead and choose this data column, which is my amount column, and go ahead and choose this total value. I can group it based on year-wise or something, and I can do that. Or I have the option to choose different types of widgets. So it's not necessary that we have to stick with this type. We can also have some kind of like a KPI indicator that shows whether the trend is up or down. For example, the amount in the deal. And then I just want to choose this based on the closing date, quarter-wise, and see whether the trend is up or down. So I can keep building multiple widgets and I can use it accordingly, right? So I can save this, come back and use it at any point of time based on my need. And obviously the dashboard can be customized, the look and feel, the color, the theme, everything can be changed as the way you want. We have introduced a lot of things recently. You can change the color with the gradient, different color combinations, anything that you need. On top of it, you can do that. If you have a look at that, when you change it, it automatically changes that appropriate colors, the text labels, and everything seamlessly. Now, even you can have your custom images and everything on top of it, like this or like this, and do analysis with that visualizations as well. It's as simple as to build a dashboard and publishing it to the end users seamlessly, right? So this is how you build the dashboard. And of course, you can use Ask Zia to do this. We had the sessions in the morning and most of you have seen it. So obviously you can interact with the system to build the reports. So just need to type in what you want and the reports can be built automatically. And you can take it as a continuous conversation mode to do it. and so on. And of course, you have the option to train the system accordingly to the Ask Zia. So it's a natural language querying technology which helps you to build the visualizations. So simply enable it, start asking the questions. But the best practice is try to mention the right column names so it'll understand your question and generate things automatically. We are enhancing a lot of things to make it more business friendly context. And that was discussed as a part of the announcements yesterday. But just in a couple of months, you will see more business friendly context as well. Apart from that, other feature is called Zia Insights. So on top of any given visualization, you can generate Zia Insights, which gives you a quick summary on what's happening in this visualization. And you can edit and make customizations on top of that as well on how exactly this data set is going up, right? It includes different types of analysis like trend analysis, distribution analysis, correlation analysis, and all the stuff to give you the result appropriately, right? So this is how you do things. This is how you build things. Of course, you have data science and machine learning capabilities on top of it, which we cannot touch base that in detail. But if you have a requirement of building ML models, the machine learning models for your use case, you can do that as well. Couple of quick points before ending. One is the forecasting and advanced analytics. So whatever I have created is like the monthly sales trend over a period of time. I just want to forecast this data for the next 6 months or something. I can simply click on analysis at the top and I go ahead and click on add and choose the forecasting. And that helps me to forecast this data for the next 6 months, right? As simple as that. But you have also had the choice of changing the models and techniques that you can use it as a forecasting. So this is the first level of advanced analytics and predictive AI. You can simply choose the models, change and make customizations and enabling forecasting on top of your dataset, right? Apart from that, also you can perform trend analysis or anomaly detection or clustering. All these advanced analytics can be done on top of your data just by simply adding it, right? So each and everything will use some models, techniques, algorithms behind the scenes to give you the response appropriately, right? And over and above, the last thing is collaboration, sharing and collaboration. That's the last part. How you can share this report with other user, just go ahead and click on share, enter the email address of the person, go ahead and define the fine grain access control, whether you want to share the report, read the report and all those stuff, you can do it. You can also define the filter criteria. You don't want to reveal all data set to all user, just filter only the East region data to East region manager. You can do that as well on top of it. And also you can export the report. You can configure email schedulers, which can automatically deliver the report to the end user. It can also send the report automatically to Slack or Click channels. You can also generate URLs and publish it to your end users as well. Or finally, you can also build slideshows and storytelling on top of it. You can configure alerts, which can automatically trigger notifications based on condition and send notifications to you. Also, you can perform actions to the destinations. For example, if your customer satisfaction rate goes below 90%, you want to create a task for your account manager to reach them, you can automate it through actions and alerts. So, considering the time, I tried to touch base the most possible important capabilities in the BI platform, but it's a whole lot of thing. We can keep discussing this for 2 days, right? All right. So, thank you for your time.